founder of Connecting, where leaders discover how to connect both logic and compassion in their personal and professional lives. I want to thank you for joining us. I know that you could be doing anything else, so really I appreciate that. I'm also the inspired creator for the Day of Love, where brides and grooms learn to stay emotionally connected to God, to themselves, and to each other. This is really a time for women to become fully empowered in who they are, not just in their professional worlds, but also in their private life. And as an empowered woman in a marriage, when we use the phrase empowered, it doesn't mean to overpower. It means to just internally find the power within yourself to really create what you want in your marriage as well. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I have 10 fantastic women that are absolutely just committed to helping you have a greater marriage. So what does it take to stay married for 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 or 50 years down the road and beyond? What does a successful marriage look like? How do we know how to learn to work together to create harmony and love in our relationships for the rest of our lives? Now, these questions are vitally important to ask, and discovering the answers prior to you getting married, it's a perfect time to do it, don't you think? All right, so I have invited just a couple of those 10 successfully married women here today. As you can see right below me, they are going to share their message on their tips about how they've learned to stay successful. Now, you are only going to hear from a couple of them today, and if you want to hear all 10 of these success tips, then please go to dayoflove.org and just register there so that you can get the entire free video plus my latest ebook called Let the Real You Show Up, because being invisible isn't living. All right, so go ahead to dayoflove.org now and just register for that if you want, or finish the video and we'll see you afterwards. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to, first of all, thank both Denise and Gladys for being here today, and I'm going to have each one of them introduce themselves, tell you how long they've been married, and then they're going to share their success tips. So Denise, why don't you go ahead and start first?
Thank you for having me. I'm Denise Van Vliet. My husband and I, Andrew, have been married for 29 years. Next year will be our 30th wedding anniversary, but we've been together 31 years. And I'd like to say congratulations to everybody. You know, going forward, this is a big commitment. And I think one of the things that I've learned over the years is to never stop saying please and thank you to each other, because over some time you start to really take each other for granted, and that begins the process, you know, of separating. And when you're getting into it, you know, sometimes there's something in him that maybe you want to fix. That's a red flag. You know, you're not in it to fix him. He is who he is. You are who you are. But you have to start with yourself. Always better yourself. You know, when you want to change anything outside of yourself, any relationship, you want to start with yourself. And as with any kind of relationship, whether this is kind of like a business relationship, it's a legal relationship, you can always renegotiate because you both change over time. My husband and I have renegotiated so many things over the years, and so instead of just coming to like, I can't stand that anymore, get together and let's say, hey, this is how it was, this is what this is now, this is what I would like to see moving forward. So always renegotiate. And remember that not everything stays the same. Everything here is temporary, so things are going to change, and sometimes things change rather quickly. I mean, we've been married, we just celebrated 29 years, but over the last year we've been having a lot of stressors, and those stressors, you have to remember that this is temporary and get through it together. And I think the last thing I want to say is make a commitment to your future selves. I mean, you're in the now, you're getting married, everything's right now, but I can tell you from my own personal experience, 29 years is going to fly by. It's going to be gone before you know it. I just look back and can't believe how many years have gone by. And not all of those years have been fun. However, we persevered and we did it together. And this is quite an accomplishment. I'm 48 years old, and I don't know of any woman my age that has been married 29 years. And that's very sad. And so change that. Make a decision to change that. And save. Make a commitment to save for your future selves, because time goes by so fast. Yes, you're always going to need the money. Yes, you're always going to have money problems. Yes, you're always going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul. Those are just the facts of life. But if you put away 10% of your income, you don't even see it. When you get close to wanting to spend more time together and retire together, you will have that. So those are my little tidbits after being together 29 years and lots of learning experiences.
Thank you. Those are excellent. It's interesting because your comment about always robbing Peter to pay Paul, that is one thing that I have held so steadfast against doing.
Awesome.
And the fact of the matter is, like what you're suggesting, if you do put money aside, you're never going to feel like you have to end up doing that because that little nest egg that you're building, whether it's, for saving, spending, whatever, I'm just going to share something that my husband and I do to help people kind of recognize how truly effective it really is. My husband used to think of it as sacrifice, where I used to think of it as, oh my goodness, this is going to save everything that we're doing. We take two like different jars. He actually started with envelopes, and then we started with jars, and just whatever it is that you want to do. But what Denise is saying is absolutely true. If you just take certain increments of money, a percentage of your money, and put into a play account, an education account, a financial freedom account, all these different accounts that you want to separate your money out into, you truly will not end up feeling like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I just wanted to throw that in there, Denise. Do you guys actually have a system that you use as well?
Absolutely, we do save money, and if it wasn't for the fact that we saved money over the years, we probably wouldn't be financially where we are in the moment. So, I mean, looking back, it's like, oh, I wish I can touch that money, but you know what? You get through it. You really do. I mean, you get through one crisis after another, and over time, you think, this is part of life. This is how we figure out how we work together to get through these things. But then the reward is what you've saved.
Right.
And always make that commitment to yourself.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Always make that commitment to yourself.
Yes, yes, indeed. Okay, so saving is definitely an important factor. I love the other tips that you gave as well. Spending is also an important factor because that money that you have saved, if you have actually labeled it as play money and you're not spending it, you're just saving it and holding it back, you're actually withholding from yourself. And I don't know if you recognize that, and I don't mean you, Denise, I mean just people in general. I don't think that they recognize that always. It's kind of like being a generous giver as well as a generous receiver. So learning to do both, learning to save and spend is a vitally, vitally important part of life. It's what creates the flow of money and the flow of life. So I just really appreciate and value the things that you said there. Thank you so much. So now we're going to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, one of the things that we were able to save for is for our 25th wedding anniversary. We were remarried. We redid our vows in Ireland, in Kidney Castle. So that was something that we were able to do because we saved.
Right, beautiful. And you were not afraid to spend it. Good job, good job. All right, well, thank you so much. Those were fun. I really enjoyed listening to that. Okay, Gladys, I'm going to turn it over to you. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us how long you've been married and your fabulous tips.
Thank you. My name is Gladys Diaz, and I have been married this very past Monday. It was 14 years of marriage. We've been together 15 years, and we have two little ones, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. It's been, I always tell people I have been blissfully married for 15 years. It really has been such a beautiful relationship and such a journey. It really has been a journey. As I was listening to Denise, I'm like, oh my gosh, those ups, those downs, those sideways turns. You're like, what the heck? And it really does take beginning now to prepare for those times. Because, when we stand at the altar, we never say, oh, I can't wait to have this like really ordinary life with you. We're standing there with dreams and hopes, and we want to live an extraordinary life. That doesn't just happen. Every happily married couple that all of us know, it didn't just happen. They didn't just click. It's a daily commitment to loving each other, to respecting each other, to honoring each other, and there's a reason why good and bad, sickness, health, and poor, and richer for poor are in the vows, because those things happen. So when I think about what the biggest tips are, bringing them down to just a few is difficult because they are daily commitments that we make. And having a relationship, I said it doesn't just happen. It's work. It doesn't have to be hard work. If you come to it from the point of view that I'm committed to this person that I'm choosing to spend the rest of my life with, nobody's putting a gun to my head, even if it's an arranged marriage, people find their ways out of it. I'm choosing this man. So as I choose him, I choose to love him exactly the way that he is and exactly the way that he's not. And that whole thing that Denise mentioned about trying to change someone, that is the recipe for disaster. If I'm choosing to love you, I'm choosing to love you now and now and now, just as you are and just as you're not. And I'm not going to try to change and fix you. A lot of people come into marriage like, this is a great fixer-upper. Like, I'm going to flip this guy like people flip a house. It's not that. And so one of the best ways to keep that is to respect him. And I always clarify that respect, people tend to think, well, I don't raise my voice, I don't use my words, I'm not throwing plates and slamming doors. Of course you want to not do those things. But when I speak of respect, I'm talking about really respecting and honoring him as the human being that he is the man that he is, and knowing, that, trusting that you made the right choice. Trusting that you chose a man who's capable, who is loving, who there was a moment in your life where you couldn't imagine not spending the rest of your life with him. And you do need to remind yourself of that during the hard times and when the socks are on the floor and when the garbage hasn't been taken out, that there are bigger things in life than garbage and socks. And it's all about how you look at it. I could say, I always have to pick up his socks, or I could say, I'm the one who gets to pick up his socks. I'm the one he chose, and he's the one I chose. So really respecting and honoring him as the person, as a human being, the man that he is really important. And just as I said that, 19 years, 14 years, 29 years, 39 years doesn't just happen. Every single day I choose to love. Every single day I choose to accept. Every single day I choose to forgive. And forgiveness is not something he has to earn. Either is respect, either is love, by the way. It's something I give. I grant. I grant you my forgiveness. Doesn't mean I agree with what you did. Doesn't mean it's okay and I want you to do it again. It just means I forgive you and I give up the right to keep bringing it up and using it against you. And then the very last thing I want to say, don't forget about you. Make sure you're taking care of you, that you're doing things every day that make you happy, that refill your tank. Nobody can give water from an empty well. And if you're not taking time to replenish your mind, your body, and your spirit every day, not every month, not once a week, every day, doing something that's just for you, that brings you pleasure and peace and joy, then it's going to be very difficult to be patient, forgiving, and loving on a daily basis. So don't lose yourself just because he's in your life. Keep your life even though he's in it, and make sure that you're honoring yourself the way that you want, and hope he will honor you.
Beautiful. When you said to not flip this man the way you would flip a house, that's so interesting. I think really we probably ought to do some kind of I don't know, maybe a hangout just on that topic alone, because so many women definitely try to flip their man. Ladies, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this. I also want to mention that we have already had one tip about asking for what you want. And last night, after I got off that particular call, I started thinking about it. And I said, there are two things that I would love to have that in the 36 years or so that my husband and I have been together, I've never asked for. But other men do it for me, and it really makes me feel great. But why haven't I asked my husband to do that? It doesn't mean that he can't, start to do it if he wants to. He doesn't have to do it. So what I did, I sent him a text, even though he was just in the living room. I sent him a text, and I said, honey, I'm just curious. If you wanted to open the door for me every now and then, I sure wouldn't mind that. In fact, if you wanted to push my chair in once I sat down, I wouldn't mind that either. These are really important things when it comes to respect, because there is a certain level of, I'm going to use the word sophistication, and that's not really the word that I'm looking for, but that's what comes to my mind. There's a certain level of I don't know, making you feel respected and cherished. That's the word right there. It makes you feel cherished when someone does something like that for you. So if you're a new bride, or if you're a woman who's been married for 30 some odd years, it's never too late to say what you want and to do it in a way that gives them the option as to whether or not they actually want it. It doesn't mean that you can't request it, but just like I said, I mean, I was open for him to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. But he didn't. He said, sure, you know? So I think it's really important, these levels of respect that you can have for each other as husband and wife. And really, Gladys, thank you so much for bringing that up. I also just want to throw out a quick mention about Gladys's, her anniversary, her saying that this was this past Monday. Go to her blog post. She has an incredible 2 blog posts, if I am correct, about 14 tips, one for each year that they've been married, about just great information about how to continue nurturing your relationship. So Gladys, thank you for that. And I think you're just a fabulous relationship expert. So thank you for being here. Ladies, I truly appreciate your contribution today, and I honor the both of you for being here and for what you do. Again, I just want to encourage you folks to go to dayoflove.org if you have not yet signed up to receive this video of all 10 women speaking through their success tips for marriage. And you also, at the same time, will get a free ebook from me called Let the Real You Show Up. Ladies, again, thank you very much for being here, and I hope you have an incredible day.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
My pleasure.